Quick question, how does a skinny kid from a tiny Portuguese island go from eating soup in a modest kitchen to eating defenders alive in the Champions League? And how does that same kid end up at 40, signing a £500 million contract, getting a statue in Times Square, and still smashing goals while most of us are smashing the snooze button? Welcome to the story of Cristiano Ronaldo, the ultimate transformation from nobody to global superstar. So let's dive in. Humble beginnings in Madeira. Every great story needs a beginning, and Ronaldo's wasn't glamorous. Born in Madeira, Portugal, he came from a family with little money but endless determination. As a boy, he trained so obsessively that he was teased for crying during practice when he failed. He wasn't the strongest, tallest, or most celebrated talent, but he had something rare, an insane obsession with becoming the best. That obsession would carry him from the dusty pitches of Madeira to Sporting Lisbon, where scouts quickly realized his kid wasn't ordinary. At just 18, he faced Manchester United in a friendly. His stepovers and tricks dazzled so much that United players begged Sir Alex Ferguson to sign him immediately. He went from "Who's that skinny kid?" to "Sir Alex, we need him in our locker room yesterday." Within weeks, Ronaldo was wearing the famous red shirt, the start of his journey into footballing stardom. That moment wasn't just a transfer, it was a spark that would ignite one of the greatest football stories ever told. Little did the world know, the shy boy from Madeira was about to change the game forever. Manchester United. At Manchester United, Ronaldo transformed from a flashy teenager to a polished footballer. By 2008, he had not only conquered England but also the world, winning his first Ballon d'Or at 23. This was his coming-of-age story. The young winger who combined flair with frightening productivity. Fans went from laughing at his stepovers to gasping at his free kicks. And let's be honest, when Ronaldo struck the ball, it felt like physics itself paused to watch. But here's the thing. Ronaldo's story wasn't just about talent. It was about obsession. While teammates relaxed, he was training harder. While rivals celebrated, he was recovering smarter. This is where the storytelling lesson kicks in. Show not just the outcome, but the relentless grind behind it. People don't just admire success, they admire sacrifice. At United, he didn't just earn trophies, he earned respect, turning doubters into believers one dazzling performance at a time. And by the time he left for Real Madrid, Old Trafford knew they hadn't just hosted a star, they had witnessed the birth of a legend. Real Madrid. In 2009, Ronaldo made his record-breaking move to Real Madrid for £80 million. And this is where legend turned into myth. Over 9 seasons, he scored 451 goals in just 438 appearances. To put that in perspective, that's more goals than most strikers score in their entire careers multiplied by 5. He became the all-time top scorer for Real Madrid, the Champions League's most prolific player with 140 goals, and collected for more Ballon d'Or trophies. If football had cheat codes, Ronaldo was a human embodiment of them. At one point, he averaged more than 1 goal per game, a level of dominance that made defenders sigh before kickoff. Mark Ronaldo, managers said, easier said than done. How do you stop a man who seems to float above defenders like gravity is optional. The hook here is simple. Audiences love dominance, but they love it more when it's paired with relentless drive. Ronaldo didn't just score, he celebrated every goal like it was his first. The iconic Su celebration wasn't just a cheer, it was a brand, a battle cry, a way of saying, remember my name. Reinvention in Saudi Arabia. The 40-year-old scoring machine. Here's where most stories fade. Athletes age, performance drops, and the spotlight moves on. Not Ronaldo. In December 2022, he shocked the world by joining Al-Nassr in Saudi Arabia. Critics called it a retirement move. He's cashing in, they said. Fast forward to 2025, and those same critics are still writing headlines about him breaking records at BY June 2025. Ronaldo had extended his contract until 2027, making him the highest paid athlete in history, with a deal worth around £500 million. At 40 years old, when most people are discovering knee pain, Ronaldo was still discovering new ways to embarrass defenders. By August 2025, he had scored 100 goals for Al-Nassr, making the first player ever to score 100-plus goals for 4 different clubs. 93 goals in 105 appearances. Followed by a century strike, it wasn't retirement, it was reinvention. This is the hook of reinvention. When audiences expect decline, surprise them with a twist. Ronaldo didn't fade into the desert. He set on fire. That's how you keep people engaged in your story, by giving them the unexpected. Portugal glory in breaking time. And just when you thought he'd be done with international football, Ronaldo gave us another chapter. In the UEFA Nations League final of 2025, at 40 years and 123 days old, he scored against Spain to help Portugal lift the trophy. That made him the oldest scorer in a major final, and the first captain to win the Nations League twice. He also finished as the top scorer of that tournament with 8 goals. Pause for a second. 8 goals in an international tournament at 40. Most players that age are on commentary duty, sipping water in TV studios. Ronaldo, still scoring in finals. That's not just football, that's a Netflix script. And the crazy part? He made it look routine, as if carrying a nation on his back was just another day at the office. It was the perfect reminder that Ronaldo doesn't just play the game, he rewrites its rules. Legacy beyond football. Ronaldo's story isn't just about football, it's about cultural impact. In September 2024, he became the first player in history to reach 900 career goals. In February 2025, his 40th birthday was celebrated with a 12-foot bronze statue unveiled in Times Square, New York. Imagine that. A boy from Madeira now towering over Manhattan. And then there's his role as global ambassador for the Esports World Cup in Riyadh in 2025. While rivals were winding down, Ronaldo was leveling up, literally expanding into gaming, branding, and culture. His legacy now stretches far beyond the pitch. Its statues, sponsorships, and shockwaves across industries. The name Ronaldo has become more than a jersey. It's a brand stamped into global culture. Decades from now, kids who never saw him play will still know the legend, just like we know the myths of Pelé and Maradona. Storytelling lessons from Ronaldo. So what makes Ronaldo's rise such a powerful narrative? First, it begins with humble origins. Stories that start with struggle pull audiences in. Second, it layers staggering numbers with emotion. 900 goals is impressive, but the first human to ever do it is unforgettable. Third, it highlights reinvention. Moving to Saudi Arabia at 40 wasn't an ending, it was a bold new arc forth. It delivers emotional beats. A Nations League final goal of 40, a Times Square statue, moments that make audiences gasp. And finally, it throws in surprises like esports ambassadorship that nobody saw coming. That's how you keep a story alive. In fact, Ronaldo's story shows us that the best narratives aren't linear, they twist, turn, and shock us when we least expect it. And that unpredictability is exactly what makes a tale unforgettable. So here we are, from a poor boy in Madeira to Manchester United, from Real Madrid dominance to Saudi Arabian reinvention, from 900 goals to Nations League glory at 40, Ronaldo's rise is a blueprint for greatness. His story is proof that legends aren't just born, they're built. They're built through sweat, sacrifice, and self-belief. And here's the kicker. Ronaldo's story isn't just told, it's felt, which means your story can be too. The real question is, what's your Ronaldo moment? What's the chapter in your life where you go from unknown to unforgettable? If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and share your story in the comments. And don't miss the next video, where we'll break down how to create emotional hooks that move people without sounding cheesy. Until then, remember this: the most powerful stories aren't just told, they're lived.